Unmute. All right, everybody. Hi, my name is Lisa Johnson. I am one of two ed techs here at Westlake High School. And our other ed tech, which I'm going to turn the camera, this is Chris. Wait, oh, there we go. Okay, good. That's Chris Hansen, and he'll be monitoring the chat. For those of you who are just joining us, we are trying something a little bit new. We've kind of used a different product last year when we were doing the webinars, and the kind of downside of using that product is we basically still had to download the video and then upload it here. So what we're trying now is kind of like, it's a Hangout. It's still got all of the chat, but then the video will already be archived for you. You won't have to wait to kind of watch it later. So with that being said, we are going to jump right into our topic today. And no, we're not. Hold on. One moment. I'm going to open that, and then we're going to jump into our topic. Okay. One moment. Application. Here we go. Okay. So we've got lots of other webinars. Crystal mentioned those from last year, but what we're going to start with is kind of digital life at Westlake High School. So whether you have a student that is new to the high school, or you just kind of want to know, what resources are available, what they're using daily, things like that, we kind of wanted to give you some of those resources up front. So we're going to be covering daily use, things that they could be using for projects, and then also just some additional resources. Okay. And again, if you have any questions, you can email whsedtech@eansisd.net, and Chris Hansen is monitoring the back channel right now. And I am Lisa Johnson, and I am narrating, if you will, what we're going to be covering right now. So daily use, I'm going to talk to you about the EANS account portal, self-service, Google Classroom, Google Calendar, the G Suite, Notability, Notes, Microsoft, and Desmos. These are things that a lot of our students use on a daily basis. And since we've got so many sort of digital things going on, we thought it'd be helpful to kind of illuminate some of those for you. So the portal, upper right-hand corner, and it is on all of the student devices, and they can click right on it. When they click on it, it takes them to a sign-in, and they just sign in with their EANS ISD, which is basically their first initial, last initial, and then their 5-digit lunch number at eansisd.net, and then whatever password corresponds to that account. Within the EANS account portal is kind of the quickest way to get to a lot of the textbook resources. You'll see kind of the McGraw-Hill, Pearson, a few things there. When they click on one of those, and this can be confusing, so I really wanted to kind of show you this. When they click on one of these, here you can see the algebra one. They have the ability to basically launch the app, but they have to go through essentially the EANS account portal first, because then it will populate the app with their information. So once they go through the EANS account portal, then they have the app. If they have not downloaded the app already, they would have to go get it. Once they hit launch app, then it will actually bring up all of the textbooks that they should have for whatever courses they're registered for within that particular textbook vendor. And again, if you have questions about anything we're saying, please post them to the chat, and Chris will either kind of feed them to me as I'm going, or we'll answer them kind of intermittently. So it's a quick overview of the EANS account portal. The next thing we'll talk to you about is self-service. So for those of you who are new or may not know, in the olden days, when we first started out with the iPad here, we did have the App Store open. Now we do not have the App Store open anymore. What we do have is self-service, which is essentially a curated kind of app store for our students. They do not need an iTunes account to download apps within that store. They can install anything. There are free apps as well as paid apps that we have provided to them for free. And I'm going to kind of walk you through some of those in just a moment. The next thing I'll talk to you about is Google Classroom. So I would say the vast majority of our staff are using Google Classroom for their courses. It's kind of like an online classroom, essentially. And when students do that, they have the ability, you can see that little plus sign, they tap on it and it says join class. When I was screenshotting this, I was using my account, so I was able to create a class. Students aren't able to create classes. Or their teacher will give them a join code. They're able to join the class, and then they essentially see all of their classes. When they click on a class, they'll actually see 3 icons at the very bottom. They'll see the stream, which is essentially almost looks like Facebook, where you've got just, announcements and different things like that that the teacher is sharing with them. You'll have classwork, which looks like some teachers are saying, unit 1, and then you might have an assignment for unit 1 or a resource for unit 1 or a online question that they're supposed to respond to. And then you have people, so you can essentially see who else is in the course with you. So that's kind of Google Classroom in a nutshell. If it doesn't look like this, odds are they probably need to update their Google Classroom, and they can do that just by going into self-service, finding Google Classroom, and basically reinstalling it. The next thing that our students kind of use on a daily bit is Google Calendar. And if you have a freshman, every single one of the freshmen have gone through an iPad Basecamp where we kind of walk them through everything that they needed to do with Google Calendar. If they sign into the Google Calendar app or a website and then go to Google Calendar, if they sign in with their Eanes ISD information, then they will automatically have access to all of the courses that they are enrolled in Google Classroom. So basically, and I know it's convoluted, but every Google Classroom class has an associated Google Calendar. And so when they log into Google Calendar, because everything's associated with that Eanes email that they use, all of their courses should already be there for them. Now, if they have been with a district for several years, then they might have calendars from previous years, and we walk them through how they can kind of uncheck those so they don't see them anymore. And we also talk to them about like different layouts of Google Calendars, how to actually use Google Calendar more than just kind of a passive sort of thing. We talk to them about how they could set reminders, for a test or different things like that. And some of them really like that they could add personal events. You'll see I have yoga today, this afternoon, but certain things that you type in will have an image associated with it. And so that's really helpful for our students as they're kind of going through things. So, some of them may have karate after school or band or something like that. They can type that in, and then it's an easy sort of thing for them to see. The next thing I wanted to mention to you is Google Drive and kind of all of the apps that are associated with Google Drive. Because we are a Google Apps for Education district, we use all of these sort of tools. They thread really nicely because you're kind of living in the same ecosystem. So they work really nicely with Google Classroom. They work really nicely with Google Calendar. And everything is housed in Google Drive, almost like kind of an online binder. And then you have Google Sheets, which is basically like Excel, Google Slides, which would be similar to PowerPoint or Keynote, and then you have Google Docs, which would be similar to Word. And so many of the students who are using Google Docs, for writing papers, working on things collaboratively, that's an excellent resource for them to have. So I kind of want to just make sure that you are aware that they have all of those resources. So the next thing I want to mention is Notability. All of the things I was sharing with you previously are free apps and tools. Notability, I believe, actually is a $10 app. We provide it to every single one of our students. And Notability it's essentially a way to take notes. So if you open a PDF in Notability, you can annotate on it. You can type your notes or you can handwrite your notes. And you can see in front of you, if your student is taking art history, and this is actually from the art history class, and so they're able to look at the images they're responsible for, and then they have to actually take a comparative analysis note on every single one of them, which you can kind of see on the left-hand side. The other thing, which you might be interested to notice, is there's a microphone. So if students wanted to record a lecture, they could. They just need to ask their teacher before they do that. So that's an excellent tool. They all have access to that tool. And one other thing I wanted to mention is recently Notability updated. And so if students are handwriting, which some of them like to do, they like to bring a stylus and handwrite, in Notability, they can do that. if a teacher were asking them to have it in text or something like that, now we have the ability to basically convert handwriting to text, which is really, really helpful in those apps. So that's Notability. And they can get through that or get to that in self-service. And that, and also Notability was one of the other stations we did with our freshmen during their freshman base camp in early September. So they should be pretty well versed with both Notability and Google Calendar. The next thing I want to mention is Notes. I know a lot of people use Notes. It's kind of comes default on the iPad. Something I wanted to mention is Notes has had quite a few updates to it. So now you can actually draw in Notes. So if they were trying to draw a diagram or do something like that to attach to their notes, they could do that. And Notes will also allow you to scan documents, which is a new feature. So that's something, if your students are asking like, well, I have this PDF or I have this hard copy, but I want to have kind of a digital copy of it. What could I do to do that? So Notes would be a good option. Now, I get this question a lot, so I wanted to make sure that I was clear on kind of explaining how to get to it. So students, in addition to the Google Suite and in addition to the Apple Suite of Keynote and Pages and, all of those kind of Apple apps, we also have the Microsoft Suite available. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So if students want to sign in to basically Microsoft 360, it is slightly different than the email they would be using to sign into, their normal things like their Google and stuff like that here on campus. So what they would do, and they can get Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, and Word, and actually OneNote. I have quite a few students who like using OneNote. They can get all these in self-service. And when they log in to the account, it needs to be their 2 initials, 5-digit lunch number, just like whatever they were doing when signing in at Eanes ISD. But it's not at eanesisd.net. It's at eanesisd.onmicrosoft.com. I realize that's a lot more to type in, but that's just kind of how the Microsoft ecosystem works. So I wanted to make sure that you saw that and could convey that, because I do have quite a few students who really like using Microsoft Excel. It's got a robust sort of system for certain things that they want to use. And so I wanted to make sure that you were aware of how to get in there. And that account information applies across all of the Microsoft tools. The last little bit, I'm going to talk to you about daily use. So if you have students in a math or science classroom, they might be using the Desmos app. The Desmos app is essentially a beautiful graphing calculator. It is free. They can go in and get that app and download it. They can also use the web version, and you can see I just typed in a basic function there, and it graphed it, and it'll do different colors and things like that. They can also sign into Google if they wanted to save graphs. So a lot of our students, especially our freshmen who take algebra, end up using Desmos, and they are actually allowed to use Desmos, the test mode, when they're taking I believe their EOC exam, their state exam. So I thought I'd pass that on. Before I move on to kind of some things that students can use in projects, Chris, are there any questions that came in? Chris is shaking his head no. So I'm going to, and giving me the thumbs up, so I'm going to continue on. All right, so that's what I gave you before, was just kind of an overview of a lot of the apps and tools that our students use on a daily basis across the board. Now I kind of want to mention to you some of the things that they might use for projects, because a lot of students will do a variety of projects, and sometimes they might come home and say, hey, Mom, I have to do a video. I'm just going to use iMovie because I'm not sure what else is available. And so I wanted to kind of share with you some of the other resources we have. I'm going to go through just a quick update to Keynote and then a quick update to Pages. So Keynote is kind of like PowerPoint. It's basically a slide design software. Something I wanted to mention is that now you have the ability to draw in Keynote, which is a really awesome idea to add to it. So they could draw flowcharts, they could draw all kinds of different things to accompany an actual Keynote presentation. And all of those little icons that you see are actually built into Keynote now. So you don't have to cite them, which I'm kind of a big person on citing and kind of making sure that they're using images appropriately. And so the beauty of this is you have all of those sort of icons built into Keynote, which is really nice. The next thing I'm going to mention is Pages. Pages, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of like a word processing tool as well as like a publisher tool. So you can see up at the top, you can make books, you can make reports, you can type, papers, you can do resumes, flyers, posters, newsletters, stationery, certificates. Something that's really new and I wanted to mention is the ability to make books. So they have this whole layout where they can essentially create almost like a chapter of something, or they can add images, they can add audio, they can add video, they can add text. And so these are some templates. So if they were working on a project, this might be something you would steer them towards if they weren't aware of it. Okay. So this next bit is sometimes a student will be given a project and the output of the project is some sort of graphic image. So it might be a poster, it might be an infographic, it might be, I'm blanking on what else it would be, but like a meme of some sort. So these are some tools I just thought I'd mention. They're all in self-service for you. Strip Designer, that third one, actually costs money, so that's available to our students for free. So Pick Collage, the one at the top, they can create collages, cards. It actually has clip art and icons in it. And I love when apps have that because, again, then I don't have to cite it, as well as I don't have to look for things online. And it has some doodles and animations that they can use. Canva is available. And if you see that little kind of denotion, can't speak today, the asterisk essentially tells you that those require an account. So Pick Collage and Strip Designer, you basically download the app, you click on it, and you're immediately able to create something with it. Canva and Adobe Spark Post, you have to basically create an account. I always tell kids just to use your Eanes ISD account information when you create the account. So Canva, they can create presentations. They have a lot of resume templates in Canva that are fantastic. So when I talk to our mentorship students and some of our career and tech courses that have to do resumes, or if a student's trying to work on a resume for college, I kind of steer them towards that because it's nice to start with a template. They can also make posters, infographics, all things. Canva has a lot of free icons and images as well as some paid ones involved there too, so you don't have to go out and look for things. Strip Designer essentially is what it is. You can create comic books, drawings, photos, maps, things like that you can include. And then Adobe Spark Post is really similar to Canva. Same idea, you can create graphics, infographics, things like that. And they've got lots of different images that are free to use and then wouldn't have to be cited. So the other type of project we see a lot are videos. And the default for students is typically, I'm just going to go use iMovie, which is fine. iMovie is great. But we wanted to share a few other ones. So if your student came home and was like, hey, I have to do this video project, I'm not quite sure what to use, then you could say, oh, well, let me tell you, there's some other apps in self-service that you can go get. So one of them is Clips. Clips is, I guess, a sister, maybe a younger sister of iMovie, in the sense that it's still an Apple product. You can create, short movies. Actually, you can create any length movie. What I like about Clips is it has free music library in it, so they're not having to go to iTunes, again, worrying about citing music and things like that. And if you have students who are in a world language class or something like that, they also have the ability to do speech to text. So what's really cool about Clips is when you speak, it will create kind of like an on-screen translation. It works with a lot of different images, so that's kind of a cool feature of Clips. Explain Everything creates screencasts, essentially. So if they were trying to explain, maybe a scientific process or a math problem, they could draw it out, they could type it out, and then explain how they solved it. You have annotations, things like that. And all of these export as videos, but they all kind of do something a little bit different. Adobe Spark Video is in the same Adobe Spark family, and just this one creates a video versus an image. And something I like about this, especially if students struggle with, what do I add next? How do I storyboard this? Adobe Spark, you can create it from a template. So you can say, oh, hey, I need a template for a biography. And so it'll give you basically what you need to fill in on each slide. Then you can get rid of, whatever you don't want to use, but that's nice. It also has free icons and images and music, which is really helpful. And then Coma and iMotion are basically a way that students can create stop motion or time-lapse videos. So if you had a student that was I see this a lot in like Latin classes and different classes where they're working on a project. Maybe they're building something, maybe they're working on, ceramics. So they would set it up to film, and then it would basically create a stop motion. So rather than, a process that took them 3 hours, you could see kind of the process shortened into maybe 10 seconds or something like that. So that's kind of a quick overview of some of the resources that are available. And then I am going to let Chris talk to you about websites, webinars, and a few other things.
Hello, everybody. Sorry if I sound a little stuffy. Allergies have gotten the best of me this season. Waiting for that cold front to roll in. Just wanted to talk to you real fast about a little bit about how to access resources from us, upcoming webinars, and a little bit about who we are and ways you can get assistance for all your technology needs for your students. First and foremost, if you you have found our YouTube channel, so that's good. Eanes EdTech is on YouTube, and this is where we archive all our old webinars. You can see 2017, 2018 webinars, anything from digital distractions to calendars and time management to senior iPad transition. We've loaded those on there, as well as a couple of helpful tutorials. And as we make those short tutorials, they're usually about 6 minutes or under, we will load those onto the Eanes EdTech's channel as well. So if you haven't subscribed to it yet, please do. As Lisa mentioned at the start of this, we're trying YouTube out this year and instead of our old platform, and we're going to be probably notifying. We figured out today we could put a reminder up and kind of put a placeholder for these webinars, so we'll be doing that. Our upcoming webinars are going to be Managing Your Digital Life on October 17th. Basically, we've been doing some background research on our students, and we will be holding a freshman seminar. That's an in-person seminar, and the information that we're delivering to those freshmen will also deliver to our parents through that webinar. And Managing Your Student's Device on November 8th, that will really dive into the iOS 12 operating system that just came out from Apple. We have suggested to our students not to update until 12.1 or 12.0.1 or whatever comes out once the bugs are all worked out. But there are a lot of cool features with iOS 12, plus some things in iOS 11 that students may not be as familiar with that we'd like to share with y'all. So when you're working with your students at home, when you see them doing things on your iPad, you can mention to them that you might know something they don't about technology. It's also always nice to do that. Our website is whsedtechs.weebly.com. Again, we have a portal for staff, students, and parents. So you can kind of go and look at it from your own perspective or check out what we're delivering to the students in terms of resources. And you can always email us at WHSEdTech, that is not plural, like the website, edtech@eanesisd.net. Lisa and I both get those emails, so we're pretty responsive. We'll usually get back to you within the day, depending on your needs. The job of an ed tech, so Lisa and I are both classroom teachers. We both have experience teaching class and have experience as in an ed tech role in other districts as well. So what we bring to Westlake High School is a lot of not just technology experience, but a lot of curriculum experience. And that's how we work with the teachers. We work with students and teachers in order to integrate the technology into the classroom, into the curriculum, not just have it as an afterthought or have it as a PDF viewer for the students in class. So our job is really to work with the teachers to learn all the things that they don't have time to learn, and find out all the new stuff coming out on the market and the new applications that replicate things at higher education and industries across the nation and world. It's a fun job. So we still get to work one-on-one with students. We still get to work with large groups of students, but most of our time is with course professional learning communities and individual teachers, though we also will co-teach occasionally when helping out with new applications. Tech Help is a desk located near the Shaps Court at Westlake High School. It is open 4th and 5th period. Those are our lunch periods. And students can come by if they have any device needs, such as broken screen, broken keyboard, glitches on Wi-Fi, things of that nature. So anything technical that you would think a typical IT role would handle. While Lisa and I can usually help with that kind of stuff, that is what our help desk is for. I know all the time students aren't able to come by or forget or whatever, so Lisa and I are always open to help students. Our office is right across from the library, so if your students don't know, make sure and let them know. They can come by anytime. But that tech help desk, as it's not open all the time, you can also email us, and we can usually help out on the back end. And 9 out of 10 times it's something that we can handle really quickly, or we can just give you advice through an email of what to do. Seems like situations are pretty repetitive, and most of them are handled by a quick reset, wouldn't you say, Lisa? Yeah. So that is really the difference between our role and a traditional IT role. With that said, if there's any help, you don't have to decide who to contact. You can always reach out to us at WHS EdTech at eansisd.net, and we'll happily either help you out or get you in contact with the right person. And if you ever need some more advice or are curious about other things, please reach out as well. Not just when there is trouble, but if you're just curious about other things, because we're always happy to help. Thank you guys for joining us. That's the back of the book. We're going to see you again on October 17th. We will go ahead and schedule that webinar now that we know we can do that through YouTube, so you can set a reminder for yourself. Please spread the word, and also check out our archive sessions on this YouTube channel. From Westlake High School, thank you very much for joining us.